Hello and welcome to the 121st episode of Downtime Podcast with Alyssa and Jeremy. Alyssa, how are you today?
I don't know. Apparently, I'm having computer issues. So,
Hey, it's all good. I'm having health issues.
Yep.
So, I mean, yeah, we're both experiencing some difficulties right now.
Technical difficulties right now. This is like the third time we tried to record this. I think this is a sign that I need to get a new laptop or build a new computer. I don't know. This laptop that I'm currently recording on is about 6 years old. So maybe this is a sign that next year I need to upgrade.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much what it means. I mean, Black Friday's coming up. Maybe you can pick up a new laptop for a cheap price.
Yeah. I'm thinking, see, ideally, I would like to just build a desktop because that would be the easiest. But I think with my lifestyle, I'm moving around so much that I don't think a desktop is a good idea. Like, I'd rather get like a nice, like, powered up PC than get a desktop just because I'm on the go way too much.
Yeah, because of what you do and the nature of just everything in your life, I think it's better that you have a laptop. But although, a desktop is nice for like higher end PC games, stuff that's more demanding.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's so. I think you should definitely look into getting both in the future.
Yeah. Probably look into Asus. I never know how to say that.
I think it's
word.
Asus.
Asus. Okay. Asus.
That's what I've heard.
Okay. Probably look into that. Get something new. Treat myself because I'm turning 28 next year.
Treat yourself. And damn, 28.
28's like not a special year unless you make it special. So
that's very true. Went to Sacramento this past weekend, had some brunch at this awesome place called the Waffle Experience, and everything they had there has waffles. So you can get eggs Benedict with waffles,
okay.
Of course, chicken and waffles.
So instead of an English muffin, it's a waffle.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. That
pretty
sounds
cool.
Delicious. Do they do crispy chicken sandwiches?
They do it between two waffles.
That's what I was expecting.
Yes, and there's savory waffles, as you would expect with a sandwich, but there's also sweet waffles, like with syrup. It's pretty dope. It was a good place. Had to wait for a little bit because it's a popular spot. I mean, brunch is just becoming a more and more popular concept for a lot of places in a lot of cities. But yeah, it was good.
Get bottomless mimosas?
No, because we were driving, so we didn't want to drink. We had
okay.
a Bloody Mary that was pretty good. The alcohol content was pretty low, but it was still pretty good.
For sure. Yeah. But when you get those breakfast cocktails, they really shouldn't be that bad.
No, not at all.
One time I got a Bloody Mary, and I don't even really like tomato juice, but I got the Bloody Mary because it looked pretty and everyone had one. So I figured, all right, I'm just going to match with everyone, get this Bloody Mary. And it was good, but holy crap, they put a whole piece of bacon on the rim, on top of the rim of the cup.
Oh, wow.
And the piece of bacon was really greasy. I have mixed feelings about it.
Huh.
It's like you can tell it was just fried.
Yeah, that's
I don't even think they dabbed it.
Yeah, I think mimosas are definitely a better choice for brunch than Bloody Marys. There are definitely people who prefer Bloody Marys than mimosas for brunch, and I'm not going to hate on you. You do you,
You do you.
But in my personal opinion, I think mimosas are a little bit better for brunch as a drink.
I think you just got to like tomato juice, too.
Yeah, that has to be a more important factor of it.
I just got it for the gimmick.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, if it's on the menu and it looks interesting, you'll want to try it.
Yeah, and then was immediately over it after, but till next time.
Yeah, for sure. After brunch, started feeling under the weather, had a fever, some chills, muscle aches, thought it was the flu. Might not be the flu.
Could still be the flu.
Yeah, could also still be the flu. Kind of waiting it out. We'll see how I feel tomorrow. Um, but yeah, hopefully I'm not too sick, but I'm planning to go to bed super early tonight and just to get it out of the way
Yep.
and feel better tomorrow. And went shopping today, which is kind of nice. It was
Very nice.
It was an okay day. Went to Trader Joe's. As I stepped outside, there was ash falling from the sky and a really weird smoky smell, and it reminded me of the fires last year in the Bay Area. And I was like, all right, I know PG&E shut off their power, but there already is a fire. And then I was kind of worried about it, and I looked it up the news, and there was a fire near Lake Merced in San Francisco, and it was like blowing over different parts of the city, and it was causing ash to fall down. And I was like, all right, I'm done with this. Like, I'm just so over it right now. I really thought it was like a fire from.
Was it caused by power plants? Cough,
No.
cough.
It was it was a wild bushfire, and I was like, okay,
Uh-huh.
sure it is, sure it is PG&E.
Mm-hmm. Gotta love it. Gotta hate it.
Right. So
Hate to love it.
yeah, I was just like, I was scared and I was kind of confused. But it's all good now. They put out the fire, and it wasn't that big of a fire, but it did create a lot of panic.
For sure, for sure. Well,
For those out of the loop, basically, the past few days, PG&E announced that they were going to cut off power to like 800,000 people.
And PG&E is the electric utility company of the San Francisco Bay Area.
Correct. Last year and the year prior, their equipment was responsible for several fires that broke out, with last year's fire being probably the deadliest.
Yes.
It destroyed several million acres, and
It destroyed towns.
Yeah, there were several towns in Napa and Sonoma that were destroyed. Wineries were ruined. People's lives were ruined. It was terrible, and it cost PG&E like $300 million or something. I forget. There was some crazy amount of money that they owed. And so this year they're like, all right, this weekend has some very high winds. We're going to shut off all our equipment.
By the way, it's not windy at all. I'm just saying, it's legit not windy.
Someone on Reddit was like filming their flag outside their house. They're like, oh my God, check it out. The high winds are here. And it was like barely moving. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, there were a lot of like memes going on during that time about the blackout. And so, yeah, there were people that. So, I mean, like, arguably, no power also causes more, like, not more damage than the fires, but like enough damage to, stop businesses from working. People from my office that lived in those affected areas, they stayed home for those couple of days because they didn't, their security systems were off. Like, the whole thing was off.
Yeah, not surprised.
There was a story about a Baskin Robbins and this couple that runs it, and they were trying to save it by like not opening the fridge. And I was like, oh, geez, this is crazy.
That's so sad.
I know. All 31 flavors. No.
Oh, God. Gotta save the 31 flavors.
For real, though. But your area was okay, right?
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah. So it was only for places that were high risk for fire. So places definitely outside of San Francisco, but
in the
closer.
hills. If you were closer to the hills, that's where they were targeting.
Exactly. Basically, if you live near like dry brush or like dry grass, then they were like, oh, you're not going to have power.
Yeah.
There were a lot of places. There's a wide area that they covered, and there were, again, 800,000 to probably 1 million people that were affected by this. Mm-hmm. And one person died because their oxygen tank that required power was shut off, and 12 minutes after the power was shut off, he passed away because he didn't get enough oxygen.
That's so sad. Holy crap.
Yeah, and I'm like, damn, okay, PG&E, what are you going to do about this? Probably nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
They never do.
Yeah, it's true. But other than that, you having a good weekend so far, Lisa?
Yep, it's been a great weekend, and I am ready to talk about all the controversy this week in video gaming.
But before we get to that,
before we talk about PlayStation 5 and Blitzchung, we're going to talk about games we're playing, as well as games that are out this week and last week. So games that came out last week include Destiny 2, the Shadowkeep DLC, which quite a few people I've seen playing. I think it's a good one. Concrete Genie has come out, which I actually have. John Wick Hex is out because did you know there was going to be a John Wick game, Jeremy? Did you know? Because I
No,
didn't.
I
Yeah,
I did not.
exactly.
I thought there already was one for VR.
I don't know. I found out for the first time this week, and I feel like if you were to have a John Wick game, it would be by a higher grade developer, but because there's a lot of action and stealth to be involved, but I guess not. And Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair is out, which brings me the question: was Yooka-Laylee that popular to have a sequel?
All right, this is what I'm going to tell you.
All right.
Yes,
Okay.
it was popular. People that loved Banjo-Kazooie love this game.
Okay.
Because it's made by the same team that created the original Banjo. They all left Rare to make their own studio.
Yes.
Yeah, it kind of harkens to the ukulele game, the essence, the feel, even the logo kind of harkened to the golden age of the Rare game saga and the Banjo-Kazooie days. Especially the font is very Banjo-Kazooie-esque, and the duo heroes are very Banjo-Kazooie-esque. They got the same composer, like basically all the same people that worked on the Banjo games, worked on this game and made it.
Yes.
I actually backed this game on Kickstarter when it was first announced, and I was really excited about it.
Yeah, I remember. It wasn't good.
I'm a huge Banjo fan, but played it for like 30 minutes, and I was extremely disappointed. There was just nothing to do in the game.
I feel like a lot of people had the same opinion of you, so as you. So I'm surprised that there's a sequel out now.
People just keep giving them money.
All right.
And like, it's not a bad thing. Like, again, like we've talked about this to death, Alyssa, but like gamers need to vote with their wallets, and we'll get into that specific subject regarding a certain person named Blitzchung and Blizzard later. But vote with your wallets, people. If you really like something, and you want more of it, then pay for it, and that's exactly what
they want
this
more.
is.
They want more Yooka-Laylee, apparently.
And I guess that's one of the reasons why Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair came out. I am interested in this game. I don't know if I'm going to get it anytime soon because the sour taste of Yooka-Laylee, the original, is still bitter in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
This one looks a lot better because it's more akin to the style of Donkey Kong Country. Like definitely more 2.5D platformers. I think this game, this should have been what this was before, honestly.
Like this should have been the first Yooka-Laylee that came out.
Exactly. I'm not saying that they chose a bad direction with the first Yooka-Laylee game. I'm just saying that they just should have done more testing. There's a lot of things that they could have done better with the original game, and they come out with updates like every few months about it on their Kickstarter page. I only know this because I'm still subscribed to it.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, it looks interesting, but yeah, it's just there. Let's put it that way.
It is there.
Yeah, and I'm interested, but I'm probably not going to get it anytime soon.
For sure. Well, that is out now for anyone who is listening, as well as Killer Queen Black is out. I don't know the details behind that. I just know the arcade game, but I'm assuming it's the next version or the next level of it. And then coming out this week is Overwatch and The Witcher 3 are coming out on Switch. Children of Morta is coming out, and Felix the Reaper is coming out. And the only reason why I know about Felix the Reaper is because I've been I have that game on my wish list on Steam because it's a romantic comedy. A romantic comedy called Felix the Reaper. So
hey, whatever.
I was intrigued by the title and the description, so maybe I don't know if I'm going to buy it, but we'll see. So that's everything that's some of the few games that are coming out this week and the games that came out last week. So Jeremy, what have you been playing this week?
Well, honestly, still playing Dead by Daylight.
Cool. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, the Halloween event's coming up, as I mentioned in previous podcasts. but which basically means more blood points, different character skins and DLC. No, not DLCs. Different character skins, which are DLCs. Um, and yeah, so something about Dead by Daylight that I just experienced is, and I've had prior knowledge of this before, is at the 13th of every month there's a rank reset, and what that means is when you first load Dead by Daylight, let's say you're a brand new player, you start at rank 20. And your goal is to get to rank 1. Now, not everyone can get to rank 1. It counts down. You have to achieve certain things during each match to what's called pip. And it means to get 1 notch on your belt. And there's a total of 4 or 5 notches in each level to rank you down to the next level. So let's say like you take people off hooks, or you heal people, or you complete generators. You make the killer chase you. There's all these different like little factors in the game that attribute to different skills.
Okay.
And ultimately different rewards. And at the end of every match, the amount of blood points you get determine the different actions that you take during each match.
And if you move up.
Exactly. And these all attribute to if you pip or not. Pip means you get the little notch. And you can also de-pip. So let's say you didn't do anything in the game except for just die. And if you just died, you're obviously going to de-pip because you took no actions to help you.
Could you go below level 20?
No, level 20 is the highest, but
okay.
Sorry, let me put it this way. It counts down backwards. So level 20 is the lowest, with number 1 being the highest.
Yeah, so you can't do 21.
No, 20 is always going to be the lowest.
Okay.
And so at the 13th of every month, there's a reset. And right now I am rank 12, but I was originally rank 9, and I had to work throughout the day today to get back to a lower single digit area.
How many games did you have to play to get yourself back to single digit?
So when I started up this morning, I was rank 13, and then I just got to 12. So it took a long time. I had to play 10 or 12 matches.
How long is each match?
Like 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how well you do. There's no timer.
I see. That's a solid. That's a solid like 3 hours of your time.
Yeah, it is. Oh yeah, you can get experience pretty fast in this game. Yeah, and there's a lot of factors that determine how well you do. So you can get to 2 or more levels in like the same amount of matches that I played today if you do really well. And if you survive, definitely if you survive, then you're obviously gonna pip. But yeah, there are a couple matches where the killers were really hard, and yeah, it was really hard to escape them. Like we played against a pig, and the pig is from the Saw movies, because they're licensed characters.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah, it's a woman.
Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah, and there's also Freddy. There's Michael Myers.
Yes, I remember you were telling me that.
Yeah, there's the Demogorgon. So yeah, they all have their different unique perks, and some of them are just harder than others. Like there's one called the Plague, and she just throws up on you, and you get sick, and then she always knows where you are because you're throwing up and you're sick, and you're like, how do I complete the game? But so yeah, no, I'm still having a lot of fun with the game. It's definitely something I'm probably gonna play for a really long time.
Speaking of Michael Myers, I rewatched Halloween last week, and my hot take, I don't know if it's that hot, but I really think Halloween is the best Halloween themed horror movie of all time.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I think it's really good the way that so last week I was watching it from sort of a filmmaking standpoint, like a cinematographer and soundtrack standpoint, and man, it's just really great at creating suspense and making the viewer uncomfortable, which I rate pretty highly as a slasher film, because I don't necessarily think that slasher films are scary. But I do think Halloween, the original one, the one that came out in 1978, is one of the best horror movies of all time.
Yeah, I've heard that, and they made a sequel direct to it last year, I believe.
Yes, which is confusing because technically Halloween has like 20 sequels, but the actual direct storyline sequel was Halloween 2018.
Yeah, and although they did have other sequels, that one ignored the other sequels and just
Oh yeah.
I was like, all right, that's cool. They're pulling the Godzilla continuity, which is like the old Godzilla films. They always disregarded everyone before it and just were a sequel to the first Godzilla movie. I'm like, all right, that's cool.
The Halloween last year actually got it was John Carpenter oversaw a lot of that. So a lot of the Halloween sequels, John Carpenter was not involved in it. So this is one of the first Halloween sequels where he even redid the soundtrack and remastered it for it.
Oh, wow. First of all, I can't believe he's still alive.
Dude, John Carpenter has like a jazz band. Is like a musician now.
Oh, yeah. No, that dude is like, all right, I made horror movies. Time to move on.
He's just like, peace. I'm going to be a musician. Dude, what a boss, though.
Yeah, that's badass.
Yeah. Anyways, that was my tangent, but I just wanted to tell you that I saw Halloween recently.
Oh, no worries. So adding on to that, they're actually filming 2 more sequels.
Yes.
Halloween Kills is coming out next year, and then Halloween Ends is coming out in 2021, and these are being shot back to back right now.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's dope.
Jamie Lee Curtis be like, these are the last 2 I'm ever doing.
She's like, I'm collecting my paycheck.
I'm over it. So
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done.
leave me be.
It's actually kind of interesting because Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode is actually a character in Dead by Daylight, but the young version. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. She's the younger version, which is cool.
Oh, the high school one? The high school
Yes.
version? Got it.
Yep. And
as long as it's not the H2O version, because what the fuck was that?
Yeah. Oh, no. No, not that.
Which, by the way, H2O is supposed to mean Halloween 20, the 20th anniversary.
Yep.
But it's like,
no.
what? It looks like water, so...
Looks like you're trying to stay hydrated. And,
looks like you're trying to stay hydrated.
In this scary time.
I know.
Which is, by the way, a terrible name for a sequel. You should never name it after the anniversary of the series. Like, why?
Yeah, my goodness. Because it's confusing, because if you say Halloween 20, then it seems like it's the 20th version or the 20th sequel.
Exactly. And naming it...
Should have named it 1998. Yeah, should have named it 1998.
Yeah, Halloween 1998 would be a better title. You're like, okay, I know what year it takes place and when it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Halloween H2O 20 years later is too much of a title, and H2O definitely does it. Like Halloween Water 20 years later. Ew, that's just gross.
I know. Not about it.
Exactly. Also, the fact that there's 3 movies named Halloween is really bad. It's just bad marketing.
Yes.
Like, I know Rob Zombie tried to redo it with Halloween 1 and 2.
I don't... Of all the sequels, I don't consider the Rob Zombie sequels even relevant.
No one does, I think. I don't
They're
know.
like have nothing to... It's just whatever.
Yeah.
Make your own scary slasher film.
That's why they made the last year's sequel basically a direct sequel to the first one and not,
to redeem the whole series.
Yeah, and I guess that's why they named it Halloween as well, but the fact that they're naming the movie Halloween based on the sequel to Halloween was kind of weird, but I don't know.
It gets a pass in my book.
Yeah, whatever. Listen, movie studios need to make money.
Yeah, it's true. It gets a pass for me because it revived the franchise, but not in a shitty way.
Well, there you go. That's a good redeeming pass.
Yes. So that ends my tangent on Halloween the movie.
Yeah, and that's all I'm playing.
Okay, cool. So, for the first time last week, I played the Oculus VR game Vader Immortal Episode 1 and Episode 2. And it's a Star Wars VR game where you are I don't know if you're a descendant of Darth Vader, but you have the Force. So you have the Force. So you're a descendant of Darth Vader, and you have to use your powers to defeat Darth Vader.
Okay.
I don't necessarily think it's canon, but it's just a fun VR game just to show all the things that you can do. So, for example, you can use the Force with your hand to pick up things and throw them back at people when you attack. You have a lightsaber in the game, and then you're using that to defend yourself. And so Vader Immortal comes in episodes. So the first episode is an introductory episode of just introducing, like, you have the Force. And then episode 2, you have the Force now and you're learning to use it. And so episode 3 is going to be like, well, turns out Darth Vader's evil, so I guess I'm going to use the Force against him. Episode 3 is not out yet, but that's what I'm assuming it's going to be about. And I was playing it, and gotta say, not really into, like, hardcore into the Star Wars series, but as a game, I thought this was fine. Also, one of the easiest VR games I've ever played in my entire life.
Really?
It was really easy to play, really easy to understand for someone who, I think that someone could go into this game and who's never done VR before, and they give you so many on-screen instructions that you'll get it.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, it was really easy to play. In fact, I was questioning whether I thought it was too easy. But
Okay.
But I took it back because VR is fucking difficult half the time. So I think the fact that this was really easy was helpful because it was definitely more about the storyline and going through the episode. It's not bogging you with ridiculous controls or dumb things that you have to do in the VR.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I did that, and one of the reasons that I really played it though is there's a section called the dojo, and the dojo is a section of each game where it's a free for all of enemies attacking you, and it's time attack. So it's almost like a fighting game.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah. So I was using the Force against all the haters, and I was pretty much, so each episode, the actual storyline, the main story, only takes about 30 minutes to get through. But but I think the dojo is like infinite. Like, it just increases in difficulty each time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I didn't get that far just because I like, that's still a lot for me to to really like finesse. But I did decently in the dojo for someone who's played it for the first time.
Cool.
Yeah. And so that's what I did with Vader Immortal episode 1 and 2. And then I played Concrete Genie. In fact, I finished Concrete Genie before this podcast.
What's Concrete Genie? I've never heard of this before.
So Concrete Genie is a game that I've been really interested in playing for a very long time, and it was announced at the beginning of this year, and I pre-ordered it, not remembering that I pre-ordered it apparently, and then all of a sudden it was available on my in my PlayStation downloads. It's like, oh my god, the game's out. So the game is it's developed by Pixelopus, and it's a developer studio that's under Sony. So this is only a PS4 game.
Oh, okay.
And you have an option of playing it as a VR game, but I played it with controller. So it's a story about a teenager, and he's trying to revive his hometown of Denska. And so the main character teenager, his name's Ash, and he likes to sketch and he likes to draw. And his hometown Denska is kind of an area that's it's rife with like a lot of troubled kids and a lot of people destroying the town. And some of these kids include a bunch of bullies that are tormenting him. And so Ash likes to sketch because he finds solace in sketching. And one of the sketches that he has is he will sketch random characters, and they're kind of like genies, hence Concrete Genie. And one day Ash is kind of at the Denska lighthouse, and then one of the genies that he drew in his sketchbook, whose name's Luna. Yeah, her name's Luna. She comes alive and then grants you a powerful paintbrush, and your goal is you have to paint the town and revive it back to its beauty that you remembered it as a kid.
Oh, that's very wholesome.
This is like I was really this game made me really happy when I was playing it. Like I really enjoyed this game a lot. I didn't realize the game was so short. The game was short, but I also feel like it was the perfect amount of hours. So I want to say it took me like 7 hours to finish.
Oh, okay.
I think I wish it was longer just because I was having such a great time. But I do think it was the perfect amount of time to tell the story. Nothing really seemed to drag.
Okay. So you felt satisfied after.
Yes. You know, speaking of like the funniest part is the part that dragged the most was the tutorial. And it was so stupid. So there's 2 sets of tutorials. The second part of the tutorial is when the game teaches you how to paint on walls of the town. But then the first tutorial is showing you how to paint in his sketchbook, which, by the way, you never use his sketchbook ever again after this tutorial. It was pointless.
Oh, wow.
But also, you had to it was showing you his genie Luna, like to introduce you, like, oh, this genie's gonna come to life eventually. But you had to color in the genie, and coloring the genie was freaking ridiculous. Like, the strokes were really difficult, especially with the way that the controls are. It's like you can't color in this game. And when I was first playing it, I was like, you mean to tell me I gotta color this? I have to color a bunch of sketches? This is gonna suck. Wow. But it turns out that that's not even how you play the game at all. How you actually play the game, which is not even remotely related to the first tutorial, is all you have to do is so in your new sketchbook, you have different choices of things to draw, such as stars or butterflies or trees. And all you have to do is press R2 and then use your controller, so it uses controller motion, so you raise your controller in an upwards motion to paint up, and then it creates the tree.
Oh, that's so cool.
So you don't even have to color like the first tutorial told me to do. And I was like, what was the point of this? What was the point of this first tutorial? Because the game is actually way easier than that.
That's misleading.
It was super misleading, but I appreciate it because the game was a lot easier. And so there's 4 different areas you have to revive. You have to revive the town lighthouse, the fish market, the power plant, and the waterway, and which are the sewers. And what's really cool is in each area, it introduces new things that you can draw and paint. Like, you can collect different drawings so that you can paint more things. So, for example, the starter, you start off with like a sun, like you can paint a sun, but then when you get to the next area, you learn how to paint the moon, and it's just you're collecting more things to draw.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was really okay. This was a really heartwarming game. It made me really happy inside, and it was really touching too, because it's really, so beyond all of this is a story about how people need to confront kind of their pasts and their demons that caused them to be the bullies they are today. So it touched on a lot of great story points in these 7 hours. And what I really appreciate about the end of the game is that the whole point of the game is you're painting. So you think that you're just painting and that's it. But there are battles at the end of the game, which I wasn't expecting, but it was cool. So it's not just I'm painting whatever. There are actually monster genies that you need to fight eventually. But,
oh, cool.
Yeah. So I thought that this was a very well-rounded game. aside from the very first tutorial, I thought the game was really easy to understand and play. And this is me using a controller and not playing the PSVR version. But I did not have difficulty playing this game. That's all I have to really say about Concrete. Oh, so the last thing I have to say about Concrete Genie is so you have to decorate the walls and you have to go up different ladders. And it was really obvious in my player, in Ash having to climb the different obstacles that they took from Uncharted mechanics. Like, and then it made me realize, like, PlayStation all uses the same scripts and templates for their game. Like, it was extremely obvious this came from Uncharted.
I see.
But that was fine. Overall, Concrete Genie was a really, really great game. I'm actually gonna probably do the free play before I go to sleep and just paint more of the stuff now that the game's over. But I loved it. I'm really glad that I pre-ordered this. I had such a good time. Like, I'm really I get really happy thinking about that game. It was just so lighthearted, but I think it's exactly what I needed. But also telling a good story.
I think I want to check it out too.
Yeah. Definitely, I suggest it for anyone who wants a relatively short game and that's artistic, but also has a little bit of battles towards the end of it.
Oh, cool.
Yep. And then the last thing I have to talk about before news is that in Stardew Valley, I am 3 melons away from reviving the community center.
3 melons?
So, melons can only grow in the summer, and I just need 3 gold star melons, and I've revived the whole community center and stopped Joja Cola from buying Stardew Valley.
Hey.
Which is all I really wanted. And those are my updates for this week.
That's what's up.
So, now we're gonna go into news.
Yeah. So let's talk about PS5. And
yeah, because that's like the easiest thing to talk about first.
Yeah. So basically, when Sony revealed the PS5 details, which were pretty cool, they also had some layoffs.
Yes. They laid off people in the US and in the UK. And although it's unclear to me exactly what was laid off, it definitely now I feel even more confident that there is some sort of restructure going on.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's a coincidence anymore.
Anyone you know that you keep in touch with that was affected?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But there's definitely a restructure going on for PlayStation 5. I don't know what it is, but it's happening.
Some people say otherwise. I think there definitely is a restructure going on.
Oh yeah, totally. There's a restructure. None of this just happens, and it's like, oh, interesting. But yeah, I hope that all of those people who got laid off from PlayStation find jobs very soon in other companies.
Yeah, same. Like, it's definitely hard in the gaming industry.
Yeah.
It sucks, It sucks hearing these news because, like, in the past, like, year and a half, we've, seen the fall of Telltale and just, like, all the really bad things that are going on within the gaming industry. Studios closing left and right, and layoffs happening. Yeah, and it sucks, It's a good time to be a gamer, but it's also, like, it's kind of a painful one at the same time.
Yeah, just because everything's oversaturated right now. The good news is that also it's a rise of people being independent developers. So maybe not going the corporate route is the better route, but wishing the best for everyone who got laid off.
The way that I like to think about indie developers is like the same thing as chefs who buy and start up food trucks. It's like they were kicked out of a restaurant because of either a layoff or an economic downfall, and so they're like, you know what, I want to be my own boss. I'm going to make my own restaurant, but it's going to be in a truck, and they can go anywhere they want. And that's pretty much how I think about indie developers. Is they're kind of like the food trucks of the gaming industry.
Yes,
and they're started by people that were not given a choice to continue on doing something that they loved, but they still want to do something that they love, and that's creating games. And so they do it by being their own boss.
Yes, totally. And, you know, like, there's a lot of independent people thriving right now as well. So the future's there's always something to look forward to.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it'll definitely look up for these people that were at PlayStation. I mean, there's a plethora of different game studios in the Bay Area that will surely take up their talents.
Totally.
So touching... Yeah, go ahead. You go first.
Oh, I was going to say, in regards to the actual PlayStation 5 news...
Yes, there we go.
So there was an article released. So the announcement was actually made by the Wired magazine. I don't know if there's a but PlayStation 5 is coming out in 2020. No one's surprise, it's called the PS5, because what else are you going to call it?
Yeah.
Like I was just like, when they had to actually say the line there, I was like, duh. A few things that we already knew was there's going to be ray tracing and solid state drive. A few of the new things had to do with the controller itself. So the upcoming DualShock is going to have, I want to say, refined haptics. So currently what you have with DualShock 4 is your controller just kind of rumbles whenever something happens in the game. Like, say, for example, you get into a fight, or you bump into someone, or you crash your car or whatever, or you fall off your horse, and the controller just rumbles. So what they're saying is going to happen in this upcoming controller is now when the controller rumbles and vibrates, like, say you'll actually tell whether you're or not, and this is the example they give, you'll feel a texture difference of crashing into a wall versus being tackled on a football field. And then on top of that, the L2, R2 triggers are also going to have more haptics, and you as the player can program your controller to have as much resistance for you to feel on the adaptive triggers. So you can control the haptics that you feel at that part of the controller. Yeah.
That's so cool.
And I'm not sure about the haptics. I feel like PlayStation probably is close just because they already implement rumble in a lot of different points of a game. Actually, I feel like the DualShock 4 is really interesting. Like, there's rumble, there's like the screen in the middle that like you can use as a touchpad, but mostly it's to view the map. But not gonna lie, it would be kind of cool to actually feel that you're doing something different, like swimming or you're running. So
yeah, I mean, there's only so much they could do.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do to control a controller without just having it do its basic function. But yeah, I have no issue with that. I mean, what's going to happen with PlayStation is if it doesn't catch on, then it's just there again, like a lot of things that they do at PlayStation. So
yeah, no, true. Building off of that, the controllers will be USB Type-C compatible, which is super dope. I mean, they're definitely trying to get on with the times. It was
yeah, I was about to say, I think the controllers were always up to speed with the current version of USB. So
yeah, and I think the Switch was definitely the turning point when the Switch was both USB original as well as USB-C compatible. So some other specs for the PS5 include a 4K Blu-ray player that is also the optical drive. The PS5 games will now be on 100 gigabyte Blu-ray discs. The internal specifics of the PS5 include a custom SSD, which, as if you've ever seen like the leaked footage of that Sony press conference, you could see how fast Spider-Man loaded. And I think we mentioned this briefly on a previous podcast, but the SSD that they're creating for this PS5 is going to make it so that the game loads like 10 seconds faster or something like that. CPU is an x86-64 AMD Ryzen Zen 2, 8 cores, 16 threads, The GPU is an AMD Radeon RDNA. It's got 8K resolution, PS4 backwards compatible, and PSVR support. And the only thing I want to say about this last point is being PS4 backwards compatible. Usually when a first iteration of a console comes out, they offer backwards compatibility, a la the first edition of the Xbox 360 as well as the first edition of the PS3. They were both backwards compatible with their previous counterparts, previous generation counterparts. But for the PS5, we don't know if they're actually going to continue with that through the next models, because as we know, like later models of both the PS3 and the Xbox 360 did not, or yeah, they didn't allow backwards compatibility like when they first came out. I don't know. I don't remember if they allowed it later on, but like a good example would be the Xbox One, where like last year or 2 years ago they allowed Xbox games to be played on the Xbox One,
Yeah.
which I thought was really cool and interesting. So whether or not Sony will continue having backwards compatibility in future iterations of the PS5, like a PS5 Slim or a PS5 10K or whatever, it really depends and is waited to be seen in the future.
Yes.
I mean, I'm all for backwards compatibility. Nintendo was definitely doing that for a little bit, and then they stopped because obvious reasons. But yeah, so we'll see what happens.
I'm excited for fast downloads for the PlayStation 5.
Yeah, I'm excited for the SSD. That's going to be really cool.
Yeah. Like, something has to be done because, for example, Red Dead Redemption was something like 70-ish gigabytes and came from 2 discs. And I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not Sony's fault, by the way. But might as well think ahead in what the future of all of these games and how much memory they take is. I think that's really important, because I feel like Sony too, with the PlayStation 4, has so much cache. Do you look at your memory sometimes and the section for other is just huge and you're thinking, what the hell is under other?
Yep.
So to my understanding, this new PlayStation 5 should bypass all of that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I'm excited for the game, just the games for the PS5 in the future.
Yes. Oh, speaking of the games, lasting in their release is that they announced Death Stranding, The Last of Us Part 2, and Ghost of Tsushima are still going to be PlayStation 4 titles.
Yes, I'm definitely looking forward to Ghost of Tsushima.
Yes. And now that it's going to come out on PS4, gives me a reason that I'm not going to buy PlayStation 5 on launch.
Yeah, same.
I never do. Now it's just like, I'm definitely not going to.
And that's a smart choice too, because you want to let the people that buy it first kind of guinea pig it, and then once all the errors are sorted out, then you'll be like, all right, I waited a year to buy it, and now I have it, and it's on sale. It's cheaper than it was when it first came out, and there's no bugs. Let's do it.
Yep, let's do it all.
That's how I feel about phones too. Like, I never want to buy a phone the day it launches, because I know there's going to be problems.
Yeah.
And you let all the other people test it out first, and once they find all the bugs and the company that made the phone fixes them, then you're like, all right, let's
remember
do this.
that one time I don't remember what it was, but iPhone came out with a phone and they found out that when you put a any sort of phone cover on the phone, Bluetooth doesn't work at all. I don't remember which one it was, but they had to recall all the iPhones to fix that.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, it's so dumb.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. As is tradition with Apple, so.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about this next thing that's probably the biggest thing that caused a chain reaction of other things and was built upon other things that happened.
Yes. Blitzchung.
So, yeah, last week there was it last week, right?
It was last week.
Yeah, there was a Hearthstone tournament that happened in Taiwan, and Blitzchung,
Grandmasters,
I don't know,
Season 2, 2019, Asia Pacific.
Oh, there you go. The real name Blitzchung. Do you have it
It is
somewhere?
it is Chung Eun-wai.
He won the tournament. Was being interviewed by two presenters, and they asked him something. I think it was like They asked him to say something about his game or whatever.
Yeah, kind of like
give a
last
message.
words. What are your last words?
Yeah, and he was wearing a mask, and he was also wearing goggles in the style of the Hong Kong protesters. And he said, "Liberate Hong Kong, the revolution of our times,"
Yes.
or something like that. And then the two casters kind of just like put their heads down for some reason.
Yeah, it's important to note that in this live stream, when he says that, the two interviewers just kind of duck, like when they realized what was going on. They didn't as if they didn't want to be associated with it.
First of all, what do they think that's gonna do? Like that, they know that that video is being recorded somewhere, and of course it was, and it got put out on the internet on Twitter. And second of all, like what do you think you can do to defuse the situation? And the thing that they did was they just said, okay, we're going to cut to a commercial break. And they just cut to a commercial break immediately.
Yeah. And actually finish the story first.
So because he said that, Blizzard was like, all right, so we don't, it's not that they didn't agree with it. It was like, they said it was against the company policy to state views and to say things that were not related to the game, something that might cause offense to other people. And they pulled his winning money out. They pulled off his title, and yeah,
he's banned for a year.
He's banned for a year, and
from October 5th this year to October 5th, 2020.
Exactly, he's not allowed to play the game anymore. And of course, people on Twitter were furious. They're outraged. And the news blew up so fast that even 2 U.S. senators got in on it. And they were like, hey, this is wrong. And even Tim Sweeney of Epic Games was like, we would never do this to our fans. And everyone's like, all right, you calm down there. You sit in the corner and you do what you do best. You just be quiet. And there was another game called like Gods Unchained that was similar to Hearthstone. I think it's their biggest competitor. They're like, hey, we're going to pay Blitzchung all of his money, and we're gonna have him put him in a top spot for our tournament. I don't know if he actually took that offer, but it was really classy of them to be like, yeah, we're gonna support you because you deserve it. I thought that was really cool. Even though it's not the same game, it is, kind of the right thing to do when someone loses something that they rightfully earned with all the hard work that they put into it.
Oh yeah. There's a few points of context and just a few points in general that I want to make. So, first of all, Blizzard also ceased to work with the two casters who were interviewing Blitzchung. And in the stream, it was incredibly obvious that those two casters had no idea what was going on. And yet they're now fired too.
Yeah.
So there's an iffy thing because even if no matter what, if you didn't agree with Blitzchung, whatever, but the fact that those two people got fired just for standing there, having to be the person interview him, shows a lot of ridiculousness in the situation of having to bend the knee. And then another point of context is that Blitzchung himself is from Hong Kong. So even if you don't agree with him, this person is actually a Hong Kong person. So if anyone was to actually speak their opinion about this situation, he would be the person to do it. And third of all, think of all the people who swear on Hearthstone, like in live chat or whatever, call people the N-word, call people like the F-word, like all these different things, and they don't get banned from the game. So there's a lot of shady things that just happened, all because Blizzard does not want to end their business relationship with China because they get a lot of money from China.
No, I agree. It's like we could lose potentially billions of dollars or we can make no money and stand up for human rights.
Yeah.
Which one do you choose?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe the money. Like what?
Yeah, I know. Which is so dumb. Like, it's so ridiculous. It's like, I mean, Blizzard has been on the downhill for a while now, but so for even more, to stir the pot even more, after they made this announcement, Blizzard came out with another press release, and they said, "Oh, by the way, this decision has nothing to do with China." And I'm just like, this has everything to do with China.
Yeah, seriously.
Like, this is ridiculous. And to the point now that they're reinstating Blitzchung. He's not even he's not suspended anymore. He gets all his prize money and he has his title.
Well, his suspension was reduced to just 6 months, not a year. It still doesn't fix anything. Like, you can give him his money and the title back.
He's still suspended?
Yeah, just 6 months though.
I see.
And one thing I want to mention is that he did say something about his initial ban, and it was, "Today I lost Hearthstone. It's only a matter of 4 years, but if Hong Kong lost, it's the matter of a lifetime."
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, that's pretty profound.
Yeah.
And he's right though. I mean, yeah, it would only be a matter of time until, whatever happens to Hong Kong is really up to the people.
Yeah. Blizzard, like, and just whatever, they always care about Tencent. They always care about Alibaba and all of these different things. And sure, there's 1 billion people in China, but this is the truth of the matter. These 1 billion people in China are censored and have their own games to play as well. They're not like, some of these people aren't even playing your games. They have their own Chinese games that they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you decide to side with Hong Kong, like, yeah, you're going to lose, like, whatever. You're going to lose money. But you know what you gain? You support people and you don't support police brutality. And to be honest, China was going to forget about you anyways.
Prior to this happening, there was actually something else that happened a few days before. So this whole Blitzchung event happened on October 8th. 4 days prior, there was a tweet from Daryl Morey, the general manager of the Houston Rockets. He tweeted out, "Fight for freedom, stand with Hong Kong." He was in Japan at the time, doing some press work and I guess like promoting something with the Rockets. James Harden was there as well. They were like, I don't know what they were doing, but they were in Japan for some reason.
They're just doing summer promo. Summer promo, and then some preseason games are happening, like, internationally.
Oh, for sure. So he tweeted it out, and of course, the NBA is trying to put a stake in China right now. And what's worse is that the Rockets are the biggest team in China.
Correct.
They're the most recognizable. Everyone in China knows them. They're the most popular.
Like the most famous Chinese player of all time, was a Houston Rockets player.
Exactly. And that's probably one of the biggest reasons why the Houston Rockets are so popular in China. So that happened. And now everyone is like, holy shit. Like, do you know what you're doing? Like, the NBA told them that he was wrong. Basically, they could have lost so much. They could have lost millions of dollars because of this. And even Nike pulled out Houston Rockets jerseys and paraphernalia from their Nike stores in China, because they were so afraid of the backlash. And they were right to do so, because there's quite a few backlashes going on. People and fans in China were very angry at why he said that and what he did.
I think what's most important, though, about the NBA's response, because whoever owns the Rockets, like, they'll do whatever they do, and they could fire Morey if they want to. But the most important response is actually Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner's response, where Adam Silver, in his statement, even though it was a clean PR statement, he said that the NBA, and the commissioner is like the highest, like he's basically the CEO of the NBA, and he said that the NBA is not responsible for the statements and free speech that comes out of their comes from the players, coaches, or anyone who works in the NBA, which was basically Adam Silver supporting Daryl Morey and saying that he doesn't have to apologize for what he said. So
Yeah.
no matter what crap the NBA and like everyone else in the NBA gives him, the response that came from Adam Silver was a very strong and profound one. That sure, Adam Silver, he had to make a PR statement, but he did not force Daryl Morey to apologize.
Yeah, I think that's better because basically what he was saying is your views are your own opinions. Um, what you think is right is what you think is right, basically. The NBA is based in a country that believes in the freedom of speech, so why shouldn't he have that right as well?
Yes.
On top of this whole NBA thing, there were 2 episodes from the hit series South Park that came out. I watched both of them. There's one called Banned in China and the sequel called Shots. Not really a sequel, more like a follow-up. So what happened was the first episode, Banned in China, is about the boys making a band and they want to become popular. And so a movie producer asked them if he can make a biopic, and he's like, well, this movie needs to be more acceptable to a Chinese audience, so we need to make it easier to understand. And they were very frustrated by that because there were some elements that they wanted to add that they couldn't put in, but then he's like, you'll make so much money from China if you do it this way. And there's a whole scene where there was like this Chinese guy watching over Kyle as he was like writing the story, and he kept saying like, no, you can't do that, or he's like pointing to it and yelling at him and like saying he had to rewrite it and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, this is like a really satirical way of, showing how the movie industry panders to China, and I totally get it. On the flip side of the episode was Randy Marsh. He was like trying to sell weed in China, but of course in China weed is extremely illegal. So he was caught in the airport. They take him to like a internment camp, and they try to re-educate him, and it's like really dark. And he meets Winnie the Pooh, and Winnie the Pooh's like, I'm in jail because the president of China banned me because people are saying that I look like him and he looks like me. And so there was this whole weird backstory going on. And of course, because of this episode was banned in China. Then just like the name, like in itself was like the whole series of South Park is actually pulled from China. So the next episode that came out the next week called Shots was there's a line where Randy Marsh is forced to say the F word about China, and yeah, it was crazy. I was like, wow, like they really know what they're doing. There were a lot of like little subtle hints about China and the government and stuff. In the episode Shots. Oh, I should also clarify, it wasn't Kyle that was writing; it was Stan. Because Stan and Randy.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I should watch that episode.
So, yeah, watch both of them. Watch Banned in China and watch Shots after, and they're hilarious. They're great little pieces of satire.
Yeah, and like I haven't seen it yet, but this might be the most controversial episode of South Park since the episode where they showed an image of Muhammad, the god of Islam, because that is like completely banned in the Middle East. Yeah.
Oh.
So it doesn't surprise me that this is banned in China at all.
Oh yeah, no, there's a lot of controversies surrounding South Park. Of course, it's a very controversial show. And Trey Parker and Matt Stone released a statement. It's actually really funny. It's a faux apology, and they were like the
We're
NBA.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's like the NBA. We welcome Chinese censors into our homes and into our hearts. We too love money more than freedom and democracy. Xi doesn't just look like Winnie the Pooh at all. Tune into our 300th episode this Wednesday. Long live the great Communist Party of China. May this autumn's Songherm harvest be bountiful. It's such a good statement and just such a good response to everything.
Oh my god.
And so yeah, that on top of the NBA stuff, and of course with the Blitzchung stuff happening all at once, was just a whole huge pot of anti-China sentiments that's going on right now.
Oh man, that's pretty crazy.
I should also mention that Tencent is a partner in the NBA, a partner with the NBA for games in China, and just like, supporting basketball in China, in a deal that's worth $1.5 billion. And they said that they won't be airing Rockets games in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Given the fallout.
That's just too bad.
So yeah,
poor China.
So now South Park is wiped from all of Chinese internet. You can't find any mention of it, no notice of it. The Houston Rockets are now banned in China, apparently. Also, Zed, music artist Zed, he is banned in China because he liked a tweet from South Park, and China banned him.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, well, can't go to China now.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's intense.
Man, everyone just got to be nice to each other. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, there's not so much that I can say because I am not a Chinese or a Hong Kong person. But, like, support human rights is all I gotta say. Yeah, that's all I gotta say on this statement. And I hope everyone who is affected does not get hurt.
Agreed. Yeah. I don't want to get too political because I can talk about this for a while, but I actually don't want to. It's just too much.
Oh yeah. And
we do.
That's
yeah.
Yeah. If you have a question.
Wait. We do have 2 questions. Actually, 2 comments.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind then.
Not
yet.
Before we make the request, let me just read these 2. Okay, so this is from episode 120, Untitled Podcast, and this is from Fall Guy 27. He says, I agree PlayStation is going to restructure their team for PS5, announced now for holiday 2020. They need to change how they market their console, but I don't think reshuffle is the correct decision. I think the Sony CEO Yoshida knows what he is doing. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like we just mentioned in this podcast, no one wants to lose their job. No one wants to wake up and find out that they got fired, or go to work and find out that they have to leave. But the company, they definitely know what they're doing. I feel like even though it might hurt a lot of people, and this has happened before most recently, there was a large Rooster Teeth layoff that happened, and it was for them to push forward and to move forward. And yeah, it's hard for people, it's hard for employees to understand what that means, and like what that means for a company to do. Like sometimes you have to cut off the fat to keep going. But yeah, I mean, for a lot of corporations, they definitely want to do better, and for them a better financial move is to just let go of some people.
I think that PlayStation is trying to be hip. I think that's their plan. I think there is some truth to that statement. For example, the fact that this was just announced in an article is not traditional of Sony to do, but I've noticed this past year they've been announcing things through Twitter and magazines and articles without even a real press conference or explaining anything. So I think they're trying. I don't think they're done with the reorg. I think that's still not figured out. But I think their game plan for PS5 is they're trying to be hip. And they're trying to be the cool teacher in Malcolm in the Middle, is how I feel.
Yeah, no, and to do that, you kind of have to restructure your company, and that means letting go of some people that probably don't fit with the vision of your future.
Yep.
And that's just how it is. Like, if you want something different, you can't keep the thing that's going to hold you back that has always been the same, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So we have one more comment from the same user, FallGuy27, and this is on episode 118, Judgment Spoilercast. And he says again, feedback on Judgment is good. I didn't feel this episode flowed as well as previous Spoilercasts because of the end, which is redundant. The previous episode, you already talked about the last half of the episode, so I don't know why it had to be repeated. But the first half of the episode is good, is fun, and for what I expected with the Spoilercast storyline discussion. So I just want to say that thank you for your feedback, the very good constructive criticism, and thank you for listening to both of those episodes. The reason why I, in particular, reiterated some of the things at the end of the previous episode is because not everyone listens to all of our episodes, and we do feel like there are some users that cherry pick episodes that we release.
Yeah. There's some, really, some people, they only listen to spoiler casts. So, traditionally, we do just only talk about the storyline. And and we do have episodes just dedicated to the stuff that happens while we're playing the game, but in general, with Judgment, because it was such a good game, because we knew some people were only going to listen to that podcast, so we just wanted to put everything there again.
Yeah, no, and I really appreciate that you're actually listening to both. That's super awesome.
It that's cool. It means that we have a regular fan.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, it's good. We definitely like seeing these kind of comments and hearing your feedback. And it's super awesome to know that there are people that actually want something new and fresh from us. And yeah, we understand why you feel this certain way, but at the same time, we want you to understand that not everyone listens to all the podcasts. I was telling Alyssa this the other day. There are some people that have been listening to our Terrace House podcasts, and because of that, our Terrace House podcasts are the most popular podcasts on our channel right now. So YouTube in particular. I can't speak for the numbers on Podbean or Stitcher, but on YouTube in particular, the Terrace House podcasts are the ones that are doing really well. And yeah, to add on to Elise's previous point, we were so excited about Judgment. Like, literally, if you couldn't hear it in Elise's voice on episode 117, there were so many things she wanted to talk about, but I kept telling her, save it for the spoiler cast, because there's just so much information that we want to divulge, and we want to have it all concentrated in one place. And, of course, we let some things slip through, and we talk about certain things here and there, like, who's the best girlfriend, or what we thought about the drone races. But again, we want to feel that we need to reiterate that so that people that didn't listen to 117, now that they hear it in the spoiler cast, know that it's all concentrated into one episode.
Yes.
So,
exactly.
So, Fall Guy 27, thanks for both of your comments. That was super awesome. Hopefully, you're listening to this one right now.
And thank you for being a fan. If you have a question or a comment for the podcast, www.Downtime.Live has a form on the left side. It also has a Discord link. Feel free to join our Discord. You can email us at contact@Downtime.Live. You can comment wherever we have the podcast. So that includes Podbean, Stitcher, YouTube, and you comment, we'll talk about it. And if you listen through Apple Podcasts, you write a review for us, and we'll read it on the podcast.
Yeah.
And
right now,
I have breaking news.
Yes.
Okay. This, I think, just happened right now.
Oh, okay.
So Fortnite, I guess they split up their content into seasons. So this is currently, there was a season 10 event, and the season 10 event just ended. And apparently the way that it ended is it ended in a black hole. So the whole event, the fight was called The End. And after, your whole map, kind of crumbled, and then it turned into a black hole. And now when you try to play the game, it's just a black hole.
Huh.
So I don't know what that means, but I thought that was really interesting. And this is for every player right now. If you log in, you can't play. It's a black hole.
What are they trying to make with this statement? I wonder.
The statement that they're trying to make is tune in to season 11 of Fortnite.
We don't play Fortnite on this podcast, but hey, it's there.
Tune in to season 11.
Interesting.
Oh, brother. Anyways,